Good morning, everyone. My name is Cristina Banda. I am the education coordinator for the Illinois Family Resource Center. Thank you for being here this morning. Nancy Phillips, who is the program coordinator, will also be here monitoring the chat in case there's any questions that you all have or comments. So she's helping me out this morning. Today's presentation is betting doesn't just affect the player, it's a family affair. This is a perfect one because March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month. So this is kind of a general presentation just to if you're not familiar with what problem gambling is, if you need some tips, some help and support, we'll go over that as well. My email address is on the screen. If you have any questions, you can reach me there, and I'll also share it at the end of the presentation. Here we go. So some of the things that we'll cover are we'll learn about the services that the IFRC, the Illinois Family Resource Center, offers. If you are not familiar with who we are or what we do, I'll go over that. I'll go over some gambling statistics, what gambling disorder is. We'll explore some of the signs and symptoms associated with gambling disorders. We'll discuss the impact of a gambling disorder on families, and then we'll learn about what help and support is available for all of us. So if you are not familiar with who we are a statewide program, so we cover the entire state of Illinois. We are funded by the Illinois Department of Human Services Division of Behavioral Health and Recovery. All of our services are free. We offer free trainings, free webinars in English and in Spanish. We offer help and support if you need help with finding family engagement strategies, how to build a healthy recovery community. We offer technical assistance. We also help you find, or we offer resources for families who are navigating the recovery road with a loved one. We also have a wonderful program that was a one-year program. If you're not familiar with it, it's the Circle of Care. That was supposed to be, well, that was a one-year project. Now it's under the Illinois Family Resource Center. So with that program, you can find all that information on our website. They gathered all the resources across the state on providers that help and support families who have children grieving the loss of someone due to substance use disorder. So we offer, we have comfort bags, we have intervention books if you work with children who are grieving, who are going through the grief process. So we can help you with that. You can contact either myself or Nancy if you would like more information on the Circle of Care project. But yes, that is what we do. We also, I help with document translation if you need a flyer for an event you're having, or something, some information that you want to give out to the community from English to Spanish. I can help you translate it, and it's free. I like to keep saying that it's free because we're here to help you. We're here to support your work that you do. So use us, contact us if you have any questions, or if you would like any help and support with any anything that you need help with that you're working with the community. So let's get started. What in the chat, if you don't mind putting, what's one word you would use to describe gambling? Just one word or two if you'd like. Put it in the chat. What's one word you would use to describe gambling? Addictive, lost, chaotic, expensive, overwhelming, everywhere. It's risky for sure. Thrill-seeking, compulsive, thrilling, lack of stability. As some of you continue to put stuff in the chat, my son turned 21 last year. And I have a 21-year-old and I have a 24-year-old. They had never been to a casino. It wasn't, it didn't really, like, it wasn't a thing for them. But this year, my 21-year-old, he's about to turn 22. He wanted to go to the casino if we can take him to the casino. And I'm glad he asked me and dad, because, we can, like, kind of educate him on the risks of going to a casino. So we had a talk with him about, only take a certain amount of money, once you lose that money, or if you win, whatever, but you're not taking any more money out. You need to be responsible. We talked about all the, just the risk of once you get into that machine or whatever you're playing at the casino, and you want to keep chasing that big win. So we took him and we set a time. I'm not a casino person. We said we're gonna be here an hour, and in that hour, whatever happens, we're leaving in an hour. You're not taking any more money out. And he was amazed at all the lights in the casino. And I mean, it was his first time going. He was amazed. He was amazed at the machines. He was amazed that they, go around and offer you, something to drink. He was in, like, wow. And so he took his money. He only had what he took. He didn't take out anything else. But now he has been asking to go again. And so now he wants to make it, like, he even told his older brother, like, let's make it a weekly thing. Let's take grandpa every Wednesday. Because according to him, the casino gives you extra points or double points or something on a specific day that you go. So now he wants to go once a week, every week. So now we have to sit down and talk to him again. So I think it's all about education, educating others on the risks. Yes, it's the thrill, right? Some people start chasing that win. Some people use gambling as a way to escape problems, for a variety of reasons. So I wanted to share that story because, it's important. Yes, it can be fun, but it can also come with the risk. So I think a lot of young people who get intrigued by gambling or going to the casino, there needs to be more education on the risks that also come with that. So I'll be sharing some stories during the presentation because my dad is also, and I'll talk about my dad later on. But yes, thank you for those that shared something in the chat, because those were some great responses. Like I mentioned at the beginning, March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month. If you would like more information, or you would want social media posts, you can go to the Illinois Council on Problem Gambling website. They have a lot of information for this month. And also, we will have stuff on our website as well. You can email me. We can send you stuff if you are looking for things they're ready, they're made, and they are just ready for you to post on your social media, or send out in emails. There's a lot of information out there that you can provide to the communities that you serve. So what is problem gambling? So problem gambling, sometimes referred as a gambling addiction or gambling disorder, depending on what field you're in. Sometimes different language, but it's all the same thing. Is gambling behavior that is damaging to a person or their family, often disrupting their daily life and career. So problem gambling not only affects the person playing, the person gambling, but it affects their entire family. It affects their personal life. It's not just a one-time thing. Let me go gamble and that's it. It's not going to impact me in any other way. But it does, and we'll go over that later on in the presentation. According to the Illinois Council on problem gambling is most often characterized by an uncontrollable urge. So you need it. You need to go gamble, even when it causes a great deal of harm in someone's life. So the person who has a problem gambling doesn't care what the risk is. They need that. And if you're starting to think, oh, this sounds familiar, it has a lot of similarities to a substance use disorder, because people who have a problem gambling, they need it. They need that urge. They need that satisfaction. They need to go and fulfill that need. Unlike casual gambling, problem gambling can lead to severe emotional, mental, and financial consequences. And problem gambling is often, it's a co-occurring disorder. If you do work with individuals who have a substance use disorder, it's important to also screen for a gambling disorder, and we'll go over that later on as well. So who is at risk for a gambling problem? Anyone, really. Anyone who gambles can be at risk for developing a gambling problem. The earlier they are exposed to gambling, the higher the risk is. Being male is also puts you at a higher risk of gambling problem. A family history of addiction, mental health conditions, having certain personality traits like having high impulsivity, being easily bored, being a workaholic, or being extremely competitive also puts you at a risk for problem gambling. Certain mental conditions, such as depression, anxiety, I talked about substance use disorders, ADHD, OCD, bipolar disorder, personality disorders, puts you at a higher risk of developing a problem gambling. Children and teens are also at a higher risk than adults for developing a gambling problem. Like I mentioned earlier, the earlier they are exposed to gambling, the higher the risk is. And that is because they start seeing gambling as something normal. It's something that they see their parents doing, their grandparents doing, their siblings doing, so they see it as normal. I went to the problem gambling conference, and there was a young man who was sharing his story, and he said he is originally from California, and he said that in California the legal age to start gambling is 18. So he started, he was exposed to gambling at a very, very early age. And he saw it as normal because that's what his family did. That's what his parents did. So he didn't see it as a problem. He didn't see it as something negative or something that he shouldn't be doing because he just saw everybody around him doing it. Then there was also a woman who shared her story who also said she was exposed to it when she was 6, 7 years old. She would go with her aunts and uncles out, and she would see it, and she would see how much fun they were having. So she would associate gambling with fun. So she saw it growing up, and she eventually developed, she started getting into gambling, and she eventually developed a problem gambling. She's going through the motions of the recovery process. So the earlier you're exposed to it, the higher your risk is of developing a problem gambling. It's normalized. We see it everywhere, right? And that's what I was mentioning earlier, like we're seeing it everywhere. We're seeing actors, actresses in commercials or in advertisements of casinos, of gambling, of the sports betting. We're seeing, and kids are seeing maybe the people they, they look up to, or they, the famous people that they follow. They see them advertising gambling, and so they're, well, it's, if they're doing it and they're rich or they're making money, maybe I should try it because I want to be like that. I want to be like them. So we see it everywhere. Billboards. We're driving down, the street, down the expressway, and we see billboards advertising casinos or sports betting. So we're seeing it everywhere. Increased accessibility. Now there's casino apps on our phones. So it's easy. It's easy for anyone just to pick up their phone. I mean, I'm guilty of always having my phone on me. So everyone, it's there. You don't even have to go out to the casino. You don't have to get ready. You don't have to get dressed. You don't have to drive anywhere. You just pick up your phone and you can gamble. You can do it with sports betting. You can do it with, regular casino apps. So it's there. Increase social acceptability. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's, some people do it to go and be social. So it's okay. There's no harm to it. And the advertising is just more aggressive, and it's targeted towards certain communities. You see more advertisement of casinos and gambling and sports betting in certain communities. Back to the casino story, we were at the casino, and they offer buses, they offer transportation to get people to the casino. So if you don't have a car, you don't have no way to get to the casino. The casino has shuttle buses, and only in certain communities. That's what we noticed when we were walking around and we saw it. So this particular casino offers shuttles from the Chinatown location to the casino. And they offer it throughout the day. We were like, wow, like it was several times during the day that the shuttle would, go to Chinatown, pick up people and take them to the casino. So it's easily accessible. Now you're getting shuttled to the casino. So now there's no excuse. If you don't have a car, you can still go to the casino. You don't need to worry about driving. You don't need to worry about if it's getting late, because the shuttle will take you back to the location where it picked you up. So this is it's becoming, normal. It's there. So the more education we put out there, regarding the risks of gambling, and get rid of like the stigma, right? Like if you know that you need help, if people know that someone in their family is suffering from a problem gambling, it's okay to seek help. And I think that's also a barrier, the stigma that's around getting help and support. Like, I don't want anybody else to know that I have a problem, so I'm not going to seek help. No one else needs to know. I need to stay in the family, and that's it. I'm not seeking any help. Oh, I just saw the comment. I grew up in Chinatown. I saw those big buses all the time. Yes. And in the community where I live too, they offer, last year they had a trip to, for only senior citizens. They offered a shuttle to take them to the casino. They gave them breakfast. They gave them, like they provided drinks and breakfast, and they shuttled them off to the casino. And senior citizens are also a vulnerable population because sometimes they don't have family. They feel alone. They feel like that's their social time. Some may have that extra income or that extra money, and they don't know what to do with it. So they're like, well, it won't hurt me if I go and gamble it off or gamble a little bit of it. So they are also a population that is at a higher risk. And oftentimes more targeted because they're kind of, like an easy prey. Like some have the money, some have they have the time, and they want to, they want to be out there. Oh. So when does gambling go from entertainment to something that can be harmful? So gambling becomes secretive. No one else, needs to know about what's going on. If I gamble or not, that's my problem, and no one else is going to know. Money starts disappearing. Stress increases. Um, People are gambling away their paychecks. They don't have money to pay their, their mortgage or their rent or their light, their gas. They don't have money to buy food. Now they're stressing about how they are going to make it because they gambled away their money. Relationships feel strained. Things in the home start to become a little like you're walking on eggshells because the person who has a gambling disorder might be, in a bad mood because they lost a lot of money or because they haven't fulfilled that urge to go and gamble. The household atmosphere changes. So that's when you know that it's now a problem. It's no longer casual. It's no longer just, just for fun. It's a problem, and we need help. And there's help out there in many different formats. There's help that people who have a problem gambling can they can have access to it. So what's the scope of problem gambling in the US? I think now we're seeing it a little bit more, but it's still kind of like a hidden disease because there's really no sign of someone who has a problem gambling. If someone has a substance use disorder, there's signs, right? Like if, they're using drugs or they're using alcohol, like you can see it, like physically you can see it in their bodies. Um, if a person has a gambling problem, you can't, there's really no signs. A person can be deep into a gambling problem and they can still dress well. They can still go to work. They can still, they look like they are completely like okay, like they're not struggling. Um, the only Sometimes the only sign is, they're losing all their money. But other than that, there's no other physical sign that a person has a problem gambling. So in the US, around 2.5 million adults are estimated to meet the criteria for a severe gambling problem in any given year. Uh, 5 to 8 million US adults are considered to have mild or moderate gambling problems. That's a lot of people. The National Council on Problem Gambling estimates that the annual national social cost of problem gambling is $14 billion. That is a lot. And this is where I said I was going to mention my dad. My dad has been buying lottery tickets since I can remember. So his entire life. My dad is 76 now, and he has been buying lottery tickets since he was able to. And he doesn't just buy one lottery ticket, he buys about $10 worth of lottery tickets every day. So that is, and he buys them Sunday through Friday, like every day. So that's about $70 a week that he spends on lottery tickets. And he says, he's hoping for that big win. So he's hoping to hit the big jackpot. My mom and him have had so many arguments over, she tells him, like, imagine how much money you would have saved up if you would just save that money. Like you would be a millionaire already instead of just hoping to win that big prize. He gave it up for lent a couple years ago. He didn't last. Um, it was like he needed to go out and buy those tickets. And if he's not able to go buy those lottery tickets, he has somebody else buy them for him. So he says he doesn't have a problem. He refuses. I mean, he's older now. So we really don't, like we really don't push him to the point where he gets upset because he's older now. But we have always told him that he needs to stop. He doesn't want to. He refuses. He says he doesn't have a problem with gambling. He doesn't see it as gambling. He just sees, I don't know how he sees it, but he doesn't see it as gambling. So my dad would be a millionaire, but he's hoping for that big win. He thinks it's gonna come to him one day. So he's part of that. He's part of the statistics, because he refuses to admit that he has a problem. We've offered him, help. My mom has offered help and support, and he refuses it. And again, going back to the stigma, it's, he doesn't he doesn't think he needs help. According to him, if he goes to get help, that's for crazy people, and he's not crazy. So it's the mentality that he has grown up with that, he doesn't need help. About 9 in 10 Americans find casino gambling to be acceptable for themselves or others. Like I was mentioning earlier, it's normal, right? It's something that people do, so it's not considered a problem. 62% of Americans now find gambling to be personally acceptable. So it's okay if I gamble. And this is according to the American Gaming Association. And you go to the casino, it's not just the gambling, right? It's then substances are introduced. So that is why a lot of times probably the gambling part of it is a co-occurring disorder. So gambling doesn't just stay in one seat at the table. So when one person in the family is struggling with gambling, it affects the entire family. And this is something I mentioned earlier. The person with the gambling problem just thinks, well, it's me. Like, it's not affecting anybody else. Like, leave me alone. It's what I'm doing. It's my money. But it's not, especially if, these people who have a problem gambling, have a family, have a household to provide for. Like, now it's impacting, now we don't have food, we don't have money to buy food for the kids or for the house. We can't, pay the bills because, we lost the money. We're at risk for becoming homeless because we can't pay the rent or we can't pay the mortgage. So trust starts shifting in the household. The other partner who is not gambling, starts to have that mistrust with the person who has the problem gambling. Finances tighten, tension increases. There's always that tension, that stress, because of money, because of finances, and then the roles begin to change in the household. So that's when it starts, impacting the entire family, the kids involved, the spouse, the partner. So it's not just the person who's gambling. Motives for gambling. So some people use it to relieve stress. Some people gamble out of boredom. Some do it for fun. Some do it to win money. They think, well, I have $50. I'm going to go gamble this $50 and see if it turns into $5,000. And with those $5,000, we can pay the rent, the mortgage, whatever, and we'll be fine. They're chasing that big win. My dad, he's chasing that big win. He thinks one day he's going to get it. Some people use it to escape from problems that they're having, from the stress at home. Some people use it just to be social. That's their time to go out and be with others, and just hang out. It might be with friends, with family, and they get to hang out with others. Some signs of when it's a problem. Again, the lying, always betting more because they want that big win. Um, like I said, gambling out of need. I have $20. Let me go buy a scratch off ticket and see if I hit the big prize, and that big prize will take me out of a lot of problems that I'm going through. So let me use my last $20 to go and buy that scratch off, hoping that they will hit that big jackpot. Um, Being unable to stop gambling, again, they need it. They think that if they don't go out to gamble, or if they don't gamble on their phone, they something like they need that. They need that satisfaction. They need to fulfill that urge, that need to gamble. So the gambling tolerance cycle, it's that excitement, that thrill. I wanna gamble, and I want to see if I win that big prize. So they start doing it constantly, daily. Then the tolerance builds. You need more. Um, you feel like, whatever, $50 is not enough. Now I'm going to gamble $100 or $200 because I want to win more. Or I want to gamble some more. And then that stronger urge develops, and it's harder to stop. It's harder to cut back because you feel like, well, I put $50 into this machine. The big prize is coming. I'm going to put another 50. You don't win, I'm gonna put another 50. That big prize is coming. I know it's coming. I feel it's coming. I just, and you can't stop because you keep chasing that, like the big win. You want that big win. You can't stop. Some people feel like, well, I invested all this money into this machine or into this, game, whatever gambling situation it is. And now I can't go back because it's coming, and it's coming to me, and I'm going to keep putting money. I'm going to keep gambling because I want that big win. Like I mentioned earlier, gambling is a co-occurring disorder most of the time. If four people are diagnosed with gambling disorder, three of those people also struggle with alcohol use. Out of those four people, two also struggle with drug use. So why is this important for us to know? Well, if you work with people who have a substance use disorder, who have a mental um, disorder, screening is really important because most of the time there's a gambling problem there as well. And the treatment has to address both disorders. So it's important, very, very important, that if you do work with this population, that you also screen for problem gambling, because oftentimes it's there, and it's like I said earlier, it's hidden. There's no physical sign that a person has a problem gambling. Most of the time it's just that the money, right? The finances. When they start struggling with money, that's when you know that there's something there. Other than that, you wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at a person if they have a problem gambling. I did mention this earlier. Gambling affects the brain just like substances do. It triggers that reward chemicals. It builds tolerance. It creates strong urges, and it becomes harder to stop. A lot of similarities with substance use disorders. That's why it is very important to screen for both. Some complications from having a gambling problem, the financial problems. There can be legal problems or even jail time, imprisonment, poor work performance or job loss. Some people might, just give up on everything else that's going on in their lives because they are choosing to go out and gamble, and that's where they want to spend all their time. Increased risk for serious mental health concerns because it can increase or it can put people at risk for suicide. I've read stories of people who gamble and they lose everything and they feel like there's no way out other than by taking their lives. So that is also a risk of when someone has a problem gambling, they can also be at risk for suicidal attempt because again, they feel like there's no way out. I've gone too deep. I've lost too much money. There's nothing else I can do, but there's help out there. There's support. There's people out there who are willing to help and guide those with the problem gambling. People just need to, be able to accept the fact that that they need help and not be ashamed of it. SAMHSA defined, now we'll talk about a little bit about how gambling impacts the entire family, children. SAMHSA defines family as a group of people with close emotional ties. This definition can include a variety of family structures, so it can be blended families, foster families. It doesn't have to be blood family. It can be whoever the person considers family. So when gambling affects the family, what are the warning signs? So what goes on in the household? How does it impact loved ones? And then how can families begin that healing process? Because again, recovery is possible. There's help, support. There's people who care, who can help you, who can support you if there's someone in the household with problem gambling. So, what are some common family concerns when there's a person with a problem gambling in the household? There's arguments, there's poor communication in the household, there's anger. Sometimes kids are being physically abused because of the person who has the problem gambling, again, lost everything or comes back from gambling and it didn't go as they hoped, and they're aggressive. They can be aggressive. They take it out on their kids. They don't have the patience for the kids. There's lies and deception in the household. Yes, when I get paid on Friday, we'll go out, we'll take the kids somewhere, fun, or we'll go out to dinner as a family, or whatever the case might be. And then instead they use that money to gamble. Then there's that mistrust. There's the lies start to build, neglect of the family. There's no money to buy food. There's no money to pay the gas. So there's no heat in the house. There's no money to have electricity in the house, or there's no money to take the kids to the doctor, to pay for medical visits. So it starts accumulating, and it impacts the entire household, not just the person who's gambling. There's that financial instability in the household. The gambler usually will try to ask for money. If they run out of money, they'll try to ask family members or friends for money. I don't have money. The gambler might say, I don't have money to pay, my rent. Can I borrow some money to pay the rent? And you start, it's like a cycle. Even providing cash for the gambling problem. The lady who spoke at the conference said that she went through this. She would ask people for money, ask her family members for money, and some would give her the money, but she felt like that was enabling her because she would use it instead of using that money for what it was meant to be used, to pay the light, to pay the rent. She would use it for gambling. And so she said that her family started saying, you know what? No, I'm not giving you the money. I will pay your light bill. I will pay your gas bill. I will go buy you groceries, but I am not giving you the money because it's not going for what you're asking me the money for. You're going to use it for gambling. And she said until her family started doing that, she realized that she had a problem. And so if there's someone in the household who has a problem gambling, you know, giving them money, lending them money, paying for their responsibilities, you're helping enable them to continue gambling because they'll see, well, I'll be okay. I'm okay. Like my rent is still getting paid. I still have money to gamble. So again, there's things that the family can do to kind of curve that behavior and start, helping the person who has a problem gambling. Signs of financial strain from gambling. Again, it's no longer fun. It's starting to become harmful to the family, to the household. Calls from creditors, things aren't getting paid, so creditors start calling, and that is starting to add a stress to the household because people are calling like, you owe me money, you need to pay this bill. So the stress increases. Drained bank accounts, there's no longer a savings account or there's no money in the bank account because it's being used to gamble. The bills are going unpaid in the household. New loans are being taken out to gamble. Now it's so easy to, credit cards sometimes make it easy to get that cash advance. And people can get that money out and use it to gamble. I've heard of people putting up their house to gamble. So people are losing their homes, people are losing their cars, people are losing their families over gambling. So we need to remind people that there is help, there is support for them to see that there's people who care. I did mention this earlier as well. Family violence, right? Kids are being exposed to violence. If it's not against them, it can be, their parents arguing. They see their parents fighting over money, over financial situations. So the children are seeing this. And then the children are seeing the gambling part of it. So they're being exposed to it, which is putting them at a higher risk of developing a problem gambling. So let's talk a little bit about relationship breakdowns when someone has a problem gambling. There's secrecy in the household. There's arguments about money. There's fear of the unknown. Will we have money next week to buy groceries? Will we have the money to pay the rent? Will we end up being homeless because we can't pay the rent? We can't pay the bills. Children know, even if parents try to hide, that there's a problem, the children know. They know when something is wrong. They can sense it. And again, that's, sometimes that builds fear in the children. They don't know what's going to happen to them. Will they be forced to move to somewhere else or live with family? It disrupts their life. So again, impact the entire family. Some children are being left unattended at home because, either the parents or guardian caregivers are going out to gamble, so the children are being left alone. Children are being left in parked cars at the casino. It's happened. I've seen cases in the news where kids are in the car while their parents are, gambling, or their caregiver is out in the casino. And then children left on the casino and premises, like they're just parents or caregivers might forget that they even went with the child and then just leave. So children are suffering, they're being exposed. And there's also support for children who are in a family with an adult who has a problem gambling. In the US, there's about 2.5 million children who are affected by a parent's gambling addiction. That's a lot of children. So we need to think about the children who live in these homes. What kind of support can we offer these children and the entire family? Because if the entire family is healing together, the possibility or the outcome is greater, that it'll be a positive outcome, because they're healing together, because they're being impacted. All of them are being impacted by this problem. So children need to be involved. The non-gambling spouse needs to be involved, so that way also the person who has a problem gambling can feel that support and doesn't feel alone in the process. Because again, I keep mentioning there's help, there's support, there's people who care. Recovery works better when families are included, because again, this is impacting the entire family. Family is anyone who the person thinks is family, right? So how do you bring up family in a when you're when you're interviewing a client, when you're working with someone, how do you bring up family? You can just ask who is important to you. And that's how you find out who they consider family, who they consider is important in their lives, and you start including them in the recovery process. Some people might say that, it's their neighbor. Okay, let's see how we can involve your neighbor in the recovery process so they can help and support you on a daily basis. Recovery is possible for the whole family. Because again, the whole family is impacted. The whole family needs to heal together. Then we need to share with families that healing takes time. It doesn't happen from one day to the next. It doesn't happen. It's a process. So we need to encourage them to not give up, right? To keep working together as a family to get over this. Support makes a difference. If the person who has a problem gambling feels that support, they are more likely to stick with, with the guidelines that they set for themselves, on the whole gambling situation. Families deserve help. The non-gambling spouse deserves help. Sometimes they are forced to take over that responsibility of the household. They deserve help and support. The children deserve help and support, even though some people might say, oh well, they're kids, they're children, they'll be okay. They need help and support. We cannot neglect the children in the household. We cannot neglect the spouse, the non-gambling spouse in the household, because again, that resentment builds, that mistrust builds. So it's important to include the entire family. Support reduces isolation. Communication begins to rebuild. That trust begins to rebuild. Children feel safer in the household. And then the healing becomes shared. Everyone is healing in the household. So what type of support and help is out there? One, who should be screening for gambling disorder? Substance use treatment providers, mental health professionals, primary care and emergency physicians, educators, anyone working in the school who is exposed to children, to families, should be looking for signs of a problem gambling, because kids can be gambling in school. Students can be doing it in school during their lunch periods, by their lockers, on their phones, right? So everyone who works with families, with individuals, should be screening for problem gambling. It's important to screen for it. I mentioned this earlier because it can be linked to other disorders. It can be linked to substance use disorders. It can be linked to mental health disorders. So it's important to find out if there is a gambling disorder also involved, because we need to treat both of them. Some ineffective coping strategies that don't really work is the nagging, right? Nagging the person who has a problem gambling, threats, screaming at them, lending them money is not going to help them. Bailing them out of jail if if they end up in jail, that's not going to help them. Even though family members, sometimes feel obligated, out of love to help that person with the problem, gambling. Those aren't behaviors, those aren't strategies that are helping the person with the gambling problem. And then protecting the gambler's image. Not seeking help, not seeking support because no one else needs to know that, my spouse or, someone in the family has a problem gambling, so I'm not going to say anything. That's not helping resolve the problem with gambling. We need to get over that stigma and, I don't need help. No one else needs to know. Like, in order to heal, in order to recover, people need to seek help. Some steps to take care of the family. I said this at the beginning, education. Educate your family, yourself about what a gambling problem is. Join a support group if needed. Talk to a professional. Take care of yourself. Don't blame yourself. And encourage the loved one who has a problem gambling to seek help. Let them know that you're there. If you work with families, let them know that there's help and support out there for them, for their entire family. That way it makes them feel safer. It makes them feel like, okay, like I'm not the only one going through this. There is help, and I'm going to, seek the help and support. There's also a lot of questionnaires online. Once we get this presentation out to you, there'll be links on here that you can access. There's quick questionnaires that you can use to screen for a gambling disorder. There's also booklets that you can use as resources with a lot of activities that you can use if a person has a gambling disorder, and these are all free. So you'll get the links for these when you get the presentation. So we're almost out of time. So the top 4 things that I want you to remember out of this presentation is anyone who gambles is at risk for developing a gambling problem. Anyone. The younger they are exposed to gambling, the higher the risk is. It's important to know and to be able to recognize the warning signs of a gambling problem. If the person starts, the money just kind of starts disappearing or going fast, start asking questions. If a family comes to you and, they're seeking that help and support, and if you can refer them somewhere, that they can get the help and support, please do so. Screen for that gambling disorder. And this is if you choose to gamble, know how to do so responsibly. Share this message, right, with family, with friends, with people that you see, the clients that you work with. There's numbers that you can call. There's you don't even have to talk to someone now. You can just text a number and you can get that help and support. So please share these resources with the people that you work with families that you work with, so that they know that there's help out there, there's support, and it's available in English and in Spanish. So there's plenty of help and support. Oh, there we does it want to move on to the next slide? Well, that is all I have for you today. If you have any questions, we still have a few more minutes left. Questions, comments. If you want, I can also include in the PDF file that we send out links to where you can get the resources to post on your social media. That is ready. It has graphics. It has statistics. It is just ready for you to just share. I can send that out as well, so that way you have it easily accessible. Thank you all for joining me this morning. I always like to share my dad's story because I mean he thinks he's going to get that big win. And he buys the lottery tickets every day. And like I said, not just one, he buys about $10 worth of tickets every day. So that's a lot of money and he's retired already. So he doesn't get a lot of income. And so he's choosing that's $70 a week. I mean, sometimes he buys more. I would say around $300 a month. That's a lot of money. So thank you all for listening to my story. Yes, thank you. Yes, I think it was really important for us to educate my son, especially because he's young and I mean, he works, he has money, and I don't want him to start thinking that, you know, he can he can chase that big win. And I mean, he might get lucky, but most of the time, he people do not get that big win. So thank you all. You will get the CEUs and the presentation. I would say in the next 2 weeks, you should get it. You don't have to do anything to receive that CEU. We have your information once you registered on Zoom. So we have that information. You'll get your certificate and you'll get the PDF copy of the presentation. Bye bye, everyone. Thank you. Have a great rest of the week.